Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Insights of a Headhunter LinkedIn Live. My name is Tiina, and I'm here in Belgium. And today we have a special guest with us. We will be talking about job hacks with Mac, the LinkedIn expert. So, welcome, Mac.
Well,
And
thank you for having me.
I'm so glad to have you here today because you are somebody who is really focusing on building meaningful connections and relationships on
Yeah.
LinkedIn, and some of your clients say that you're God sent. We have known each other for since the last year, but since we talk to each other at least twice or three times a week, I feel like we know each other quite well. So tell me, how did you become the LinkedIn expert?
Well, it's. I'll see if I can try and keep this clear and concise because I tend to be a little bit long-winded sometimes. So please, just start waving and saying, "Matt, please just, keep quiet now if I take too long." But in a nutshell, I've been using LinkedIn since about 2007, 2008, and I've been in sales for over 26 years. And had I known what LinkedIn could do today, I would have probably cut out a last chunk of my background where I've done, door-to-door sales, I've done tele-sales, I've done boardroom sales. And the hardest part is the cold calling side of things. And LinkedIn, I managed to figure out a way to be able to put some strategies together to build real relationships. And as a lot of people know, referrals tend to be your strongest leads. And so what I found was by finding a way to strategically work on how to leverage my existing clients, I could get introductions almost anywhere in the world, and that was pretty cool. So through my career and various corporates that I've worked with, I've managed to be able to get introductions all over the world, and fly all over the place to go for meetings. Even my strangest one was flying out to Sydney for a 2-hour meeting, and never doing that again, because it's a heck of a long trip. But long story short, when the pandemic hit, I had one of my clients, he was one of my first clients, a life insurance salesman who loves being a life insurance salesman, and his name's Brian Chipchase. And he came to me and he said, "Mac, I've never posted on LinkedIn. I don't know what to do. I know you do all this stuff online. Can you help?" So he wrote a course and he said, "This is what I want." And he put a group of people together. I then coached them and trained them. And then for about 3 months in 2020, I took almost 70 businesses through from different walks of life, different backgrounds, and executives who were job hunting and looking for jobs as well through my training program. And the main aim was to try and prove that it works for everybody, no matter what your background is, or what sector it is, because everybody was saying, "Oh, LinkedIn's just for recruiters or just for marketers," and I was like, "No, it's not. You don't get it." Anyway, I did that for just over a year. I only really started charging for external LinkedIn courses kind of end of 2020. And then beginning of 2021, one of my coaches sat with me and he was like, "Mac, your banner is very busy." And I was like, "Yeah, but I run a security company. I consult for businesses. I do LinkedIn coaching." And he was like, "All your clients are talking about how good you are with LinkedIn. You need something a little bit clearer, a little bit more concise." And somebody was on that coaching call who had been one of my clients, and they were like, "Yeah, you're the expert at LinkedIn." And I was like, "Well, I don't like calling myself that." And they said, "Well, if you don't, nobody's going to know, and you need to be clear about your marketing and your branding." And I was like, "Yeah, I teach everybody else that, but not so happy about doing that for myself." Anyway, so my coach went online and he was like, "Look at the LinkedIn expert as an example. Who owns that domain?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know. That must be taken." And he went on, found it wasn't, and he said to me, "You've got until 12 o'clock today. If you don't go and register it, I'll take it." I was like, "Oh, pressure." So anyway, I rebranded at the beginning of last year with a LinkedIn expert, purely based on my clients, putting that label on my head. And it's been an interesting one because people always, when somebody calls themselves an expert, people are like, okay, these gurus. And so it's an interesting title to have. So that's the short version.
I really like it, and I can really call you an expert because I come from the recruitment side, and everything I hear you say about job hacks, it's the same thing that I've been telling all the time. So it's so great to hear that from a different background, you would also say the same things. And you have helped so many people to find jobs. What would be the first three things that you would say?
First three things, and I think most people would agree with this. If you've spent any time on LinkedIn, number one is just get your profile up to date. Just complete it, because so many people are looking for jobs. I see it every day where there's no banner. The photograph's 10 years old. They haven't updated it since they registered on LinkedIn. I had a client yesterday where he said, "Send me an email." I was like, "Sure, I'm going to send it to you on the LinkedIn email." And he went, "Yeah, that's fine." Sent in the details. Information he came back and went, "When are you sending me the email?" I was like, send him a screenshot of his contact info, and he went, "Ooh, that's about 5 years out of date. I don't even have that company anymore." I was like, so basic things like update your profile, just make sure it's up to date. Photograph something professional, not like hanging out at a bar or sitting on the beach. If you're a travel agent and that's what you do, different. So, those are the key things. And then the banner side of things, even if you're an employee, it's real estate that just makes it simple. Like, who are you? What do you do? And there's so many free versions of like Canva and all kinds of things that you can go and just create a quick banner. It just makes it a lot more appealing, and be very clear in your headline on what it is that you do, what problem do you solve, so that people, when they land on there and the person looking for you knows, this is the kind of person I'm looking for. So those would be my top tips.
And when it comes to, like you said, you have many skills. And how do you prioritize the skills that are relevant?
So this is an interesting one. And I know you and I and various of the online academy group spoke about this several times. And it's an interesting one because, a lot of us try and complicate things, but it's actually very simple. So, LinkedIn has this wonderful thing called LinkedIn Jobs, where you can go and research. And whether you're a company owner or somebody looking for a job, it's easy to go and look for roles that ultimately would be, a perfect description of what you want to do. So what I tend to find is, if you go on to the job search, go and find the 10 perfect jobs that you'd like to have, be looking at. And it's all on there. It shows you exactly what are the skills they're looking for. And 99% of the time, you probably have one of those skills. You just don't have it listed. So it's going on there. Going, have a look. And what I did is I just used Excel, and I put every skill for all 10 of them. And then I went and I looked at which one is reoccurring throughout all of them, and made sure that those were at the top of my skill set. Because one of the good things is LinkedIn used to only allow you to pin 3 skills. And then a couple of months ago, they changed the way you can drag them in any order, because they used to be categorized.
Yes.
And their categories were, I don't know about you, but they weren't quite that, they didn't make sense to a lot of
flexible.
people.
Yeah.
So now you can go and drag those into that order, and then go and endorse other people that you know of with similar skills, and get them to endorse the skills that are relevant to the jobs you're looking for. I think you mentioned recently about deleting some of your skills that you've been endorsed for.
Yes, killing your babies. Especially when people have endorsed you for those skills. But we're living creatures. We develop, and over the years we get new skills, and the old skills are not relevant anymore. So sometimes we just have to let go and delete, which is hard.
It is. So how did you get to that stage of kind of, okay, I know which ones I need to let go of?
I just looked and thought, what do I want to be found for? And is that still relevant after 17 years? No, it's not. Okay, then we delete it. So
I think it's that simple.
Yes.
But when you that you just struck a chord with me about your babies, and I go to my skills and I look at when I signed up like 13, 15 years ago, and I've got some skills that I got endorsed, and I've got like 80, 90, 100 endorsements, or 99. and I don't want to delete them, but they're so irrelevant. I'm like, they
You
serve no purpose.
you just gotta do it.
Yeah, exactly. And it feels like a Christmas card that you got sent by like your favorite person, and you just don't want to get rid of it. But it's, it's one of those things that you just have to do if you want to move forward.
Yeah, and another thing that comes from the field that you said, when you go to LinkedIn jobs, where you have the job descriptions, you also have keywords, which are not always the same thing as skills.
Yeah.
How do you use them?
So the keywords, again, a lot of people overcomplicate things, because keywords really are, for me, it's those search terms people are going to use to look for somebody like you. Now, you've got to make sure that those appear throughout your profile, in your experience section, in your about section. If you can, squeeze them into your headline. But they're the search terms that go and, if you've got relationships with people like yourself, Tiina, where you've got somebody who is in recruitment and HR, a lot of the time it's just going to them and saying, hey, what keywords should I have in my profile for somebody that does what I do? Because a lot of the time, the real obvious stuff, you can think about it for somebody else, but when it comes to yourself, I know sometimes, my profile, I'll sit and do a demo for somebody and show them how to do stuff, and I'll forget that I did it. And I've made some changes that make my profile look pretty scary. And then I forget to go back and do it. But I'm teaching other people how to make sure theirs is always, on the forefront. So for me, with the SEO side of things, go and look at the key words that when you go looking for a job, that come up with the jobs, the words that you put in. And it's literally that obvious. The words you put in to find the dream job that you want, if it's not in your profile, it's just not going to come up. So hopefully that keeps it as simple as that, Tiina.
Yep, that's true. And I have another one. Want to find ultimate job and jump the queue.
So
because there is so much competition.
There is, but the thing is, everybody does what everybody else does, and they think because that's what everybody else does, that's what I should be doing, and that's the furthest from the truth. So, when I find LinkedIn, the way you build relationships and make connections, it really is a special place where we don't have to play by the rules of the old days with the red tape and all the, submitting, going online and just submitting your CV or your resume. There are ways to stand out of the crowd. So I've got a couple of answers on this, because there's an answer for those that want career development. So they're in an organization, they might not be getting seen, but they really want to progress and they want to grow in the company, but the company's 5, 10, 15, 25,000 people.
Internally.
So internal growth, as well as those people looking for the ultimate job externally. So both of these things apply. So I like practical examples. So I'll give you a practical example of one of my clients that I worked with last year, who she came to me and she said, well, I don't really want my bosses to know I'm looking, that statement. And then she said, ultimately she's only been with a company for less than a year, but she wants to progress, but she feels kind of stuck because her manager doesn't, allow her to get involved in the things that she wants to. And so other people can prevent your career progression because ultimately they're looking after their own roles. So one of the things that I always say to people is, some of the biggest organizations out there, if you go onto their websites, those senior management and senior directors and all the people that are the influencers within their business, they're on LinkedIn. They've even got links on their company pages about these are our company directors, and here's a link to their LinkedIn profile. So by going and connecting with them externally to your intranet or whatever your internal system is, it puts you on their radar by allowing you to go and support their posts and commenting on what they do. Or if you see them engage with something that's of interest just by going onto their activity on LinkedIn, you can add value to that, which means you start standing out. So for this lady that I helped last year, all she did was she connected with all the senior people, and she was adding great value, but she was also doing posts about her role and what was happening within the industry. So it showed that she was interested in what she was doing, but she was also interested in learning more and being cutting edge. So she wasn't just somebody who had done a course 5 years ago. She's relevant and current. And that is so important. So from that, what she then did was she kept that trend up. But every time she went to a new meeting or she was in a board meeting where one of these senior people walked in, they started recognizing her internally. And they were like, hold on, aren't you that? Didn't you comment on my post? And their bosses, the people in between, would go, oh, hold on. And they'd feel a bit uncomfortable because, like, hold on, now you're not even talking to me and I'm the one that wants the next, and you're talking to them. But one of the key things people forget is those people, those directors, those influencers within organizations that you want to get connected to, they're also connected to other people like them in other organizations. So you might go for your dream job at, say, Google, but because you are adding great value and you're putting a lot of information out there and you're connected to some great people in Google, Facebook or LinkedIn might go, that's an interesting employee. Look at them staying on cutting edge and staying interested in what they do.
Passionate, yeah.
And passionate about their roles. So it's you becoming a business within your own business. And that way you don't have the surprise of your boss going, how come you're on LinkedIn? Are you looking for another job? So no, I'm staying cutting edge. I'm bringing value and I'm staying connected with the senior people in my business so that I know what's going on because I have a vested interest. So it's a totally different attitude. But then going onto those companies' pages of the dream job that you want to be, one of the things, I don't know if you've noticed this, Tiina, but you go on a company page and there'll be like 25 likes or maybe 100 likes. And then you look at who liked the page and it's either consultants or people that worked at the company. So very few external. But if you go and then, as a potential candidate, go and comment on that company's page and their company post, all those people who liked it are going to get a notification going, hey, Mac or Tiina have commented on this post. Now, who are these people? And they are very excited on company pages when people engage. And 99% of the time they respond. And that's a way for you just to get on the radar and start showing that you're interested in the business, interested in the company, add value to those company posts. Because when it comes to the personal posts, you might get lost sometimes, not very often. But that's a great way to stand out. So, all those ways, one of the perfect ways that one of the candidates I worked with last year, they did this for about 3-4 weeks while they were winding up with the current company they were at. And then they found, ironically, the law of attraction, there was a job posting on LinkedIn for their company. And they went and applied, and then they went onto the company page and they just went, hey, guys, I just wanted to let you know, as you know, I've been commenting and I've been following your company for weeks. I've actually just decided I'm going to apply for a job with you. So, hey, keep an eye out for my CV. And strangely enough, that somebody responded and went, hey, we'll make sure we keep an eye out. And it pretty much guaranteed that their CV got looked at. Whereas, with most of the systems that we have with application, when we go onto that auto thing and we've completed our profile and we hit apply, and we think, there we go, guaranteed I'm going to be seen. 99% of the time, it doesn't even get seen by a human. So those are some simple ways for you to just step out of the dark and into the light.
Yeah, I agree with you that when you're following the dream company page, it also gives a signal to the algorithm, meaning when I'm doing a keyword search on LinkedIn Recruiter, the people who have liked the company page, they will come up on top of the list. So they are the priority candidates to follow up with. And it's so easy. It's just one click showing your preference, because companies know that they are competing with all the other companies. So if you have shown any kind of interest, it's easier for them to call you for an interview. Let me see. We have comments here we have Jeff Young in the house. And we also have Jillian from Las Vegas.
Hey, we've got some very familiar faces on there.
Oh gosh, let me go here. And we have also Felipe from Washington. And also Kevin is saying hello. from across the pond.
Wow, we've got some great people in the audience who themselves bring a ton of value to this platform. So, very honored to have you in the audience. Thank you so much.
And also from Australia, we have Anita joining.
Fantastic.
She's up just late for us. Oh, thank you so much, Anita.
It must be extremely late over there, yes.
Yes. And we also have John Experian here. Great to see you too, John.
Thank you, John.
And Kamalika.
Wow.
On the screen, and Ella. Thank you so much for joining us. And
amazing.
Also,
I'll be sending every single one of you a thank you afterwards, just for showing your faces. It's I'm blessed and honored.
And also we have Sebastian here, and
Mr. Famous Live, yes.
And also Vivek.
Vivek.
From India.
Wow.
So all continents are represented. Let me get back to a question. You said you already started talking about how to get known before you even meet the person in person, and how to prepare for an interview. So how to make an impression before you even get to the interview.
So this is something that I find fascinating, because a lot of people forget. I mean, in today's world, in everything we do, we go and we meet somebody new. People go on a date, or they going to meet a new group of friends. They go on to either Google or Facebook or LinkedIn just to go and see who a little bit about them, because it helps with the conversation. And the reality is, make sure just a little bit of research. I find it so frustrating. I've interviewed literally in my security world and various hotel and catering, I've literally interviewed over 50,000 people over 26 years, and the ones that come in that clearly did not do any research, they come in and the first question is, so tell us about the company. And then you're like, why are you even here? If you that blows my mind. So, but research goes so much deeper now. So, as an example, there are going to be two parts. One is know what they are going to find on you before you go to that interview. So, like you said, what are the top 3 things that you would do on your profile right at the beginning is go and make sure that when you put your name in Google and somebody searches it, that what comes up is something that's reflective of the role that you want to land. If your profile is you lying on the beach, it's you haven't updated your banner, your contact information is out of date. And just a quick tip while I'm thinking about it, your contact info, when you put your email address in, a lot of people have like a Gmail address with their date of birth or the year. Don't put that in. Try and have
Yahoo email.
Or Yahoo email. Just have an email that either is plain, like your name.surname@gmail or your name at Gmail. Don't put any special character, or I've had one lady who put in there something about sexy bikinis on and I was like, why would you put that on your email address? And that was her email address for like 20 years, and she never thought to change it. And I thought, really inappropriate for when you're going to apply for things. And I've had men do some stupid weird things, caveman and all these, and I'm like, just go and think about the image you're projecting with those basic things. So a thing like an email address, and we know people are not supposed to discriminate on age, but if they see your name.email with an age in there and they go, it's just something that happens subconsciously, and it can cost you the job. So make sure that you remove that. But so do research on what they are going to see when they look at you, but then also make sure you know who you are going to see, and do some research on them, because that is it's such an easy one. If you walk in the room and it's the head of recruitment is seeing you, but the next step is to be introduced to the head of marketing or the head of sales. Do a little bit of research on all of them, so that you can see what are they posting about, what are they talking about. Even if you can, go on to other platforms, go and have a look. If you find out they're into windsurfing or mountaineering or something similar, because I find most deals and sales or transactions are closed after people have found that connection and rapport. So if you can build that connection and rapport, you're going to stand out of the crowd. Rather than being that nervous person who's going to walk in and go, so tell me about the company, and then figure out whether you like them first. You should have done that research long before. That's just my opinion.
Yes, and you can find so many things through the research. You can see the person's career development, how many years they have been in the same company, and ask them about the company culture and career development opportunities that you have seen, what they have gone through. So ask about their own journey, and then it really says that you have done the research. It's
Absolutely.
it's so important to bring your own questions to the interview situation.
Yeah, you've got to stand out, because everybody follows the same bits, and it's not that hard to stand out and just doing a little bit of research. Especially if you show the career development questions, and you've gone onto their profile and you say, my ultimate goal in 5 or 10 years, because that, I don't know why that question always comes up, where do you want to be in 5 years or 10 years? You can look at their career progression, as Tiina was just saying now, and just go and say, hey, okay, so I see it's taken you 5 years and you've gone from this position to this position to this position. What is the scope like now? What's happening within the business? What changes are coming? And that way you set up real conversation and real interest as well.
Yes, and which kind of courses, internal courses did you take, and are they still available? And the more interesting questions you ask them, the better conversation you have.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's actually a golden one, about asking about additional internal support and training, because a lot of us, so certain companies, as an example, would want to recruit somebody for their skills, but they don't really necessarily want to invest in the training. And that for yourself, when you're looking at a job, might be a red flag, because you might ask that question and they go, and I had this at one of my previous companies, where I said to the general manager, I was like, hey, so you have all these trainers, you're expecting them to be cutting edge. What kind of investment are you putting into training? And he just looked at me and he thought I was daft. And he said, oh, no, I don't believe in any of that hype. I just expect you guys to know it and crack on. And I was like, but most of your trainers haven't had any training in about 10 years. So how can it be current? So that, it could be a great red flag for you as well. But also an opportunity for you to then link it back to your LinkedIn as an example and say, yeah, I'm connected to a lot of people in my field. I'm trying to stay current and relevant. I want to make sure that I can deliver the best value to the future company that I want to connect with. And that's also, people want to know that they have self-starters, people that are able to not just sit there and be spoon-fed all the time as well.
Yeah. So what would be other tips to increase the chances to find a job?
So we've spoken about the career progression, the company page stuff, the skills stuff. I think we've touched on the endorsement side of things, but I think also recommendations is really key, because for me, yes, not everybody goes and looks at your recommendations, but if you are able to refer, yeah, I do too. Some people do, some people don't. But the beauty of it is LinkedIn is seen as one of the most trusted sources, when it comes to Google and everywhere else, because of the fact that, on all the other accounts, you can go and create all these wonderful names and hide behind a certain persona. Where on LinkedIn, this is where, the whole human to human element has really come in. And the beauty of that is that, you don't only have to get endorsements or recommendations from clients. You can get them from ex-employees that you worked with, that because as an example, when you look at skills like team management or team player as an example, but if you've got a recommendation that says, hey, I worked with Tiina and she was such a great team player, something that goes and enforces all those skills that you say you have, that takes you up on the credibility list massively. Getting previous job management or people that worked for you that said, this is how Tiina managed us, and And be very specific though with recommendations. Don't just ask for them. Because what I find is a lot of people go on LinkedIn, they'll just go and pick the people they want to ask, send them that, hit the button, ask for a recommendation. You know, LinkedIn, from my experience, pre-COVID, there was a statistic that said an average person was spending 17 to 19 minutes a month on LinkedIn. And now since COVID, it's the last statistic I saw, and I'm happy to be corrected, was somewhere around 47 minutes a week. So, that's increased a lot. But the reality is a lot of people don't check their DMs properly, or they don't come onto LinkedIn every day like you and I do. So when you're sending a recommendation request, I always say, be very specific and clear. And I would write something along the lines like, hey, Tiina, thank you so much. I'd love to ask you for a recommendation. You worked with me at XYZ. You were my manager for 6 years or whatever it was. And I want to know, number one, what were the best, characteristics that kind of stood out and things that were important to you? And number two, why should other people work with me that you think, they'll benefit from? And then number three, anything else you feel that is relevant. And what I tend to find is I'll send that to them on LinkedIn, but I'll also then look at how I can contact them. If they're on my phone, I will send them a text message or make a phone call. If they're on WhatsApp, I'll send them a message on there, or on Telegram, or on email. I'll make sure that I reach out in at least 3 other places, because there's 99% chance it's just going to go into their feed. They're going to not see it on LinkedIn. And that way, there's a higher chance of them leaving it for you. But if you want good recommendations, put some time in. Go and recommend those people that you have worked with as well, and those people that, whether they're an employee or a contractor, or anybody that you've come across that can back up those skill sets that you have. So I can talk about this for hours. So I'm gonna stop on that one.
And I also saw this feature on LinkedIn now with when you're endorsing the skills, and if you have worked in the same company, your name and your company name where you work together will show up. So it's really important that you get endorsements from people with whom you worked with. So you start by giving and giving even more. That's how you get endorsements. No other secrets.
It's an interesting one that you mentioned that, Tiina, because a lot of companies, especially larger corporate companies, have got these new policies where they try and protect themselves. So they don't want to give you, say, a public endorsement when you leave the company, in case there's something that you go and do at a new company that goes wrong, and then they blame the previous company for saying, well, you said he was good at this, as an example. And that's quite an interesting thing, because I remember one of the last companies I left, the HR people just went, oh, we don't give written recommendations anymore when people leave. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. But that was a corporate decision. But all those people in the company could still in their own right say, my experience is. And that speaks so loudly that when you see, like you said, when you see somebody endorsing you within the company you were previously at, it shows, because there's always that question, why did they leave? Why they want to leave? Why they want to come to us? All those things. And you can reassure people by adding that value in and saying, well, hey, look at what my past bosses, colleagues, clients have said about me. And the fact that they've endorsed is, that massive credibility as well.
Yeah, and it should be something that you're doing continuously, because when I see that somebody got all their endorsements in 1 month, I always look for the oldest one. I spend time investigating the recommendations. So really put time and effort in there. And before we round up, I have a question to you now with the Ukrainian refugee crisis. What would you recommend to do to find a remote job or a new job in a new country?
So, again, and this is the difficulty, because I know a lot of people that are based in Ukraine at the moment, and a lot of people that have unfortunately had to leave because of the current situation. And so it's difficult to be able to get access to maybe paper backing and all those kind of things. But most of the stuff, thank goodness, is now almost in the cloud. You know, it's on our Gmail or our Hotmail account. We forwarded a certificate to somebody because we had to sign something, or so, you know, it's making sure you get all your digital assets, as it were, the things that can back up and give you the support to say this is who you are, so that there is a trail. You can get recommendations. And, you know, the key thing is build your profile up as much as possible. And the reason I say this is there's so many scams on LinkedIn right now that are really annoying because they take attention away from the people who do need the attention. And I've seen several profiles where people have gone, you know, I'm based in Ukraine, I need some help. Can you go to this, donate to this link? And then, you know, I've seen they're on certain companies. I go to the owner of the company and I'm like, hey, I just wanted to check. And they're like, oh, they don't work for me. They're not even based in Ukraine. So the key thing is make sure that you just, you know, take a little bit of extra time, make sure your photograph's up to date, make sure that you've got as much history on your education, your employment stuff on there, and that you get those recommendations on there as quickly as possible. But when you are connecting with people and trying to get jobs out there, and you're engaging with recruitment consultants or potential employees, you know, use something that validates that you're a real person. So for me, I love, you know, when I connect with somebody, I'll just send them a quick voice note to say, hey, you know, thank you so much for connecting, so that they know there's somebody real behind the profile.
Exactly.
I'll then send a little video, you know, afterwards going, hey, so this is me. I've checked out your profile, noticed one or two things, because that as a potential employee is going to make you stand out of the crowd and show that, hey, I'm really interested in connecting with you, wanting to know more. And look here, I'm a real person. So remove any risk or unknown questions from the equation as quickly as you can. And then, you know, reach out to people like myself and Tiina, and, you know, there's so many, all those people that you mentioned earlier that are more than happy to help to steer you in the right direction. So I just wish everybody over there all the strength and peace and success in getting through this.
And something that I never thought I would recommend, but very specifically for the Ukrainian refugees, I would recommend to use the open to work circle. I wouldn't use it for other job seekers, but this is a crisis, and to show that you're looking, and it's visible on your profile, so to your whole network, so other people will be more happy to come and reach out and help. So,
awesome stuff.
Katarina Kovalevskaya says, thank you for the Ukrainian question. So thank you everyone who joined us, and thank you so much, Mac, for being so generous with your job hacks. And find him on the linkedinexpert.com, connect with him, and thank you so much for coming today.
Oh, well, thank you so much for inviting me. And I hope that at least one person is able to take a step and find that dream job, or find that employment, or that next thing that they need to take that, you know, give them some peace of mind and help them move forward in life.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Excellent. Bye, everybody.